Hello, good morning. Welcome back to the Football Terrace. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's job appears to be in the balance this morning. Big fixtures on the horizon. Champions League is on its way. There appears to be turmoil at the club. Maguire facing increasing pressure from fans. They're unhappy with how he captains the team. They're unhappy with his decision-making and the appearance and the abundance of mistakes that he appears to make. Of course, Manchester United have suffered a horrendous transfer window, although some serious talent has been purchased and bought into the football club. The goings on and the running of the football club has left a hell of a lot to be desired, to say the least. Of course, Ole's tactics are now massively under question, and rightfully so. There has been a dramatic change in the system and the setup of the team. Our fullbacks pushing very, very narrow, allowing lots of space down the flanks for the inside forwards and fullbacks of our opponents, respectively. This has led to one of the worst starts for Man United in Premier League, and in fact, the club's entire history. Solskjaer knows he is under pressure. Shipping 6 goals at any point as a Man United manager should be something that triggers you to hand in your resignation. Now, that may be rejected by the football club, but it is something you should do for me as a matter of honor and principle when holding 6 goals at home and for the capitulation and the overall rank performance of the football team. Now, all this being said, we know that Manchester United Football Club and especially Ed Woodward have been massive admirers of Mauricio Pochettino for a number of years. He is still a free agent after losing his job 12 months ago at Tottenham, and it appears Man United are now in a position where they are going to try and make their move. The next 5 games are critical for Ole. My belief is that he has those games to save his job. If he doesn't, then by November he could be gone and Man United could install Mauricio Pochettino. They have held meetings and early stage talks with Poch to sound out the desire for him to come into the club. Now, this isn't abnormal. I wouldn't even call it disrespectful. I don't want to say it's good planning, but it's fairly stereotypical for football teams to do this. Should they be unhappy with the manager? Should they see problems getting worse? They will start to do their due diligence and groundwork early to find a replacement manager rather than waiting for the perceived inevitable and then to start their search. I want your views and opinions on this. Should Manchester United sack Ole and bring in Mauricio Pochettino at this point? Do you think it's even worth giving a manager 4 or 5 games to save themselves, or should you just cut your losses now? The Skype lines are open. Search Football Terrace FC on Skype. You can find us. Phone in now. Before we go any further, smash the like button for us right about now. It's so important to the Football Terrace that we get that done. But Mauricio Pochettino has held a meeting with Man United's hierarchy about replacing Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. That's, of course, according to reports. And Ole is facing the sack. I want your reaction to that. I want to know what you're thinking. I want to know what you're feeling. I want to know what your opinions are on this right now. And do we think it will fix everything? Could this be what Man United need to get better out of Pogba, better out of Maguire, to get better out of Anthony Martial, Rashford? Do we think we're going to be back in this same situation in 18 months' time, even with Mauricio Pochettino at the club, because of the way we're run? This morning, I'm seeing a lot of focus on Maguire being rattled, a bad leader. He's part of the problem. I'm seeing a lot of talk about Pogba being lazy, not being focused, being inconsistent. He's part of the problem. I'm seeing a lot of talk about Ole and his tactics. They're a big part of the problem. And I think all these things are fair arguments. But are we going to discount and forget about the one big problem, the elephant in the room, if you will, which is the Glazers and this board? I want your views. I want your opinions. Phone the show right now. Search Football Terrace on Skype. I want to get you on the show. Keep the language clean, please. But let's get this video past 2,000 likes, please, ladies and gentlemen. We have a super chat here that says, from Jerome, who says, if this ever happens, then Poch and Jesus Perez will transform United's team. This team will be built for, this team has been built for Poch, is what Jerome thinks. Man like Mo's on the line here. Mo, Mauricio Pochettino in, Ole out. Would you do it? And will it improve Manchester United?
In football, it will, but not in terms of challenging for the league. It won't. No, I could say the football, yes, but patterns of play is what people want. But other than that, I don't think he's gonna take us because you know who we got in charge, right? And you know this is a never-ending cycle, mate. Do you know what I mean, Terry? You know this, so it's like that, mother. And 18 months down the line or a year down the line, he'll be sacked. And another manager comes in, he'll be sacked. When are we ever gonna learn, Terry?
And bro, I understand that. I understand where you're coming from with that. Let me ask you this question though: do you think the Glazers at any time soon are going to sell Manchester United?
Are they hell?
Exactly. So that does, I don't even think that needs debating at this point. My view is if they're not going to sack, if they're not going to get rid of if they're not going to sell, if they're not going to change Woodward, if they're not going to restructure that area of the team, and I can't imagine them doing it because they haven't done it for the last 8 years now nearly, and we're in these same problems. The way I'm starting to look at this is I'd rather just have some pretty football to enjoy because I'm going to support my boys on the pitch. That isn't going to change, right? So at least we can play some good football. At least we can get rid of the negative Nellies from social. You know, like a lot of these fans, I get their frustration. I get their anger towards Maguire. I get their anger towards Ollie. It is misplaced, in my opinion. But at least we can silence them and go, listen, you've got what you want now. You've got your triangles. You've got your patterns of play. Maybe then we'll get the rest of the fans to see that the Glazers are the issue and we can formulate. Do you get where I'm coming from? I just feel like it could appease some people in the short term, play some better football. But as and when that goes wrong because of the Glazers, maybe then it will focus the minds. And that's what we need potentially. But I mean, Mauricio, let's talk about Mauricio for a moment.
No, I'll support him. I'm saying I'm not calling for him. I'll back him fully because I can see a vision with him. I can see a pattern as a player. I can see a style of play with him. But my concern is, if he takes us to, say, example, that second place or third place, I'm giving you an example, a season after the next season, I just do not believe. I just do not trust these owners. That's my biggest
and I agree with you. And there's a comment here from Sean Williams who says, "Terry, you're a flip flop, mate. Never thought I'd say that. Say it. You're letting your emotions lead you again. Sort your head out, mate. Don't go down this path again. You tried this last year.
What did you do wrong?
Well, I haven't flip flopped. I'm not sitting here saying I want Ollie sacked. I'm not sitting here and saying that I think it's right. I'm reporting on the news and trying to sit here and be Switzerland for a moment and try and be balanced on this. My personal view, I'll give it to you, Sean. I don't want Ollie to be sacked because I don't think it's going to change anything at Manchester United. The biggest reason I wanted Ollie to stay, though, go back and listen to what I said after apologizing for calling him out, is I felt we needed Ollie to help with the cultural reboot that the owners were that we thought the owners and board were trying to put into place. I have now lost faith that the owners are going to allow that to happen based on what we've done to the club this summer, based on what we've done to Ollie this summer, based on what we've done to the players and the fans this summer. So when I look at all of it in its entirety, if we're not going to have a cultural reboot, if we're not going to operate in the way that Ollie wants us to and create this foundation for the future, I don't see the point of Ollie. And it isn't Ollie the man. I'm not having a go at him, the manager. It's just a means to an end. It's okay, well, if we're not going to allow him to build what needs to be built to make us sustainable for the next 10, 15, 20 years, what's the point of having him? We may as well just have a better manager. And we know Poch is a better manager who will, at least we'll get some good looking football. It's not about wanting Ollie out for anything. I'm not angry at anything Ollie's done. He's certainly made mistakes. There's definitely some issues with his tactics at the minute, and we'll touch on that on another day in another video. But in terms of him, the man, I've got no desire to say, Ollie out, he did it. He's the guy dragging us down. The point is the club are going to drag us down. So why don't we just get a better manager and play some better football and entertain us a little bit? That's all I'm saying here, bro. That's all I'm saying here. We've got a super chat here from Jerome who says, I understand, Mo, that Poch may not have won anything with Spurs, but he dealt with the worse than the Glazers, not back for a whole season, yet managed to reach a Champions League final with a poor Tottenham team. He can win trophies at Manchester United. I wouldn't necessarily say that was a poor Tottenham team. Tottenham's team under Poch, he built an amazing side, and let's see what he can do. But like you've said, mate, I won't allow myself when Poch comes in to get overly excited because I don't believe that our fortunes in the medium to long term will be any different. I hope I'm right. I've said this for years. I hope that a manager comes in and we have 5, 6, 7 years of brilliant success and we can all be like, you know what? It weren't the owners and Woodward. It really was bad managers. Although they employed those guys, I just can't see it myself. And I know you feel the same.
I have nothing against Pochettino. I have nothing against him. Like, I really wanted him to come, you know? Like, yeah, but obviously, I've not got nothing against. I'll support him, but I just want to see. You know what I mean? I really, really want him to get the support.
No, I hear that, bro. I totally get that. We've got Josh on the line. Josh, I want to ask you a direct question, mate.
Yeah.
Depending on results in the next 5 games, do you see Ollie remaining as the Manchester United manager for the rest of the season?
That's kind of, I'm in the 50-50 club on that. I mean, I don't want him to go. This club's built on like the family feeling that it's been given. You know, Fergie drove that in. It's like, you know, the whole promoting from within, success is built from within. And if they get rid of Ollie, I think the fallout will be worse than you saw from the crowd going off at Woodward for, you know, not signing Fernandez, and after following that up with the Jadon Sancho debacle. I can't see it ending well if they go for him. But on the flip side, I can see positivity in the short term getting Pochettino. Like, he's proved that with the clubs he's been at, that he does play a consistent style of football with fairly good results across the board. That's not to say that I want him in. But I can see a short term gain, but that again comes down to what the fans are calling out for, which seems to be how Woodward does his business. So, well, if the results don't go the way, I can't see him keeping his job. But
that's my only.
They're going to have a lot to answer for.
No, Josh, I get that. Do you know what? This is my only challenge back to a lot of these fans. Is someone's breathing really heavy down the mic. My only challenge back to a lot of these fans is, you moan about short-term fixes in terms of the signings we make on the field, like Cavani, but yet we don't have that same mental approach towards the way we're looking to pick a manager. And I think that's really interesting. However, like I said, maybe this is what we need to help weaponize the Ollie out brigade. If they get the manager they want, and I'm thinking about, you know, people that I trust and people that I like, you know, the likes of Rance and the likes of Saeed that really want Poch. Maybe if Poch comes in and they see this manager that they all had issues with Ollie one way, shape or form. They've all had issues with Jose for one way, shape or form. Poch is their guy. If Poch comes in and they see him thrown under a bus in the exact same way, maybe then finally we'll get the majority of Man United fans focusing on the big problem, which is the Glazers. And hopefully that don't happen. Hopefully Poch comes in and kills it, like, seriously. But yeah, I'm with you. Right now, I wouldn't personally sack Ollie because I don't think it's going to change particularly much. But everyone will have a different view on that. We've added eye test to the call. Eye test, would you sack Ollie now? Would you give him 5 more games? Would Poch be your guy? What's your opinion, mate?
What I wanted to say is, I don't believe you need... I believe if you're a great manager, you don't need these superstar signings like Jadon Sancho's, like Neymar's, like, I don't know, Paul Pogba's. You don't need that. I believe it is possible for us to achieve big things, Champions League, Premier Leagues with the Glazers, if we have a proper manager with a proper system where we don't need to fight. 2 seconds, please. Okay? Well, 2 seconds, man. Where you don't need to buy superstars like Neymar, Sancho's, or whatever. Buy the right players to suit the system. Yeah. For example, Klopp. Other than Van Dijk and Alisson, look who he's got. Salah. He wasn't a big name. Mane wasn't a big name. Wijnaldum wasn't a big name. Look how he's transformed Henderson. Look how he's transformed Robertson. He just put players into the system that suits the system. And now look what he's winning. Yeah, I believe if we get the right manager with a proper system.
Sorry, I had a big spider on my leg, bro. I had a big spider climbing up my leg. What's that about? That thing is huge. That's the biggest spider I've ever seen in my life. And he was climbing up my leg, bro. Oh my God. Sorry, I changed. Sorry. Oh, it's about that big, bro. It's huge.
You need to call your missus to get it out, Terry.
Oh my God. I was sitting there, my leg was itching, right? And I was touching it.
Terry, just pick him up and put him in a bin.
No, I ain't touching that. The thing's got tattoos. Whoa. I'm not going to kill it. It's gone into the corner. Oh my God! Sorry, I'm so sorry. I'm sitting again. What is that on my leg, bruv? What's itching? Oh, sorry, I test. I want to ask you a question. I test. Sorry. Oh, actually, that rattled me there, bruv. So I get what you're saying about he bought into the club. You know, the Manes of this world, etc. That I don't believe in this system player thing. Personally, I'm not a believer in it as such. I believe that a manager like Klopp and everybody that works at Liverpool, what they have done is they have they identify talent, and they identify talent early, very similar to what Sir Alex Ferguson did so very, very well for many, many years, where we would sign people and they would often appear obscure. We did it. Javier Hernandez is a good example. Ronaldo, you know, Ollie is one of them. You know, even Dwight York. A lot of people didn't like the idea of Man United signing Dwight York. They're like, really? We signed a lot of players that were a little bit left field, and not so much the superstar players within England or on the continent when they came into the football club, and we developed them. Sometimes I think that's more about Manchester, about a club. You're looking at Mane going, he is world class. No one's noticed yet. Let's go get him now, which I think is part of it, because Mane is amazing. And yes, part of it is coaching and development by a manager, but I also think there has to be a base and a core of quality in there. Do you think, I test, Man United already have those players and Poch can harness them and make us title contenders and Champions League winners again? Or do you think a big overhaul in players is needed as well?
I think we already have some amazing players. I believe, like, if we have a proper manager with a proper system, like I don't rate Rashford as highly as most people, but I believe if we get the right manager with the right system and Rashford's put in the right conditions, he will look like a monster. He would look like a monster. I think if Klopp had someone like a Rashford, he would make him look like a monster. So
what's your response? So on that, guys, well, let him have that opinion. On that, why is there such a focus? So the same Ollie out brigade that attack Ollie, why are they so against the Rashfords, the Maguires, the even to an extent Bruno in recent times? You know, these people are all against. You know, AWB is no good. Why, if it's Ollie, is there such a focus on how bad some of these players are? This is where I get confused, because if so many of our first team are bad, then it can't all be on Ollie. But then when we talk about a new manager coming in, it's Ollie. This manager will make these players really, really good. So that's fine. If your opinion is Ollie is damaging these players, I can respect that. But you can't have it both ways. That Ollie damages the players and the system's bad, plus the players are bad. Because that doesn't compute. No one with a brain thinks that makes sense.
Yeah, but how many of the first team players has Ollie actually brought in? That's another thing you've got to look at. People have been saying it for ages, is that the current squad is an accumulation of 3 to 4 managers of poor tactics, poor signings, and Ollie's only brought in, I think, 5 first team players or 4 or something like that in the windows up till now.
Yeah, no, I hear that. We've got I test a man like Mo. Stay on the line for us. We've got Indiana on as well. Indiana, I want to ask you directly, not so much about what I test has said, but in terms of Poch in, Ollie out, where's your head at with this? Is it something you would support as a move or not? Give me your opinions.
As a coach, there is no argument that Poch is a better coach than Ollie. Nobody would argue that. What I would say is, right now, it feels like a diversion tactic. It's the wrong time to do it. If you're going to get a new manager in, before you go into the window. Let him get his players. Itest was talking about Klopp. 3 years it took Klopp. 3 years. Ollie's been in the job for 18, 19 months, something like that. He's starting to bring players in, and the type of players we haven't seen since Fergie days for me, in terms of the players he was managing to get in, the attraction there. The attraction was there with Sancho. Sancho wanted the move. It wasn't Ollie who didn't get him in. It's the board. The players respect Ollie.
Well, this is also the question as well, and this is where there needs to be a big debate on this, and maybe there isn't for us today. Is you've got this sort of situation that I look at where I think yes, over the last 2 days, I've seen United fans angry, and rightfully so, that Woodward is buying players again and not listening to Ollie, not buying the right players, doing it wrong. That's where my issue is. Forget Ollie for a minute. Everyone knows my views on Ollie. love and respect the guy. I'm never going to disrespect the legend of this football club. It isn't going to happen. You're not going to get me to do that again. If he stays, fine. If he goes to an extent, fine. Because I don't think either thing is now going to fix the club, because we've got a bigger problem. And it will be, I think it could be even more painful, Poch coming in, than under Ollie. If Poch comes in and after 18 months, we are looking banging. We are looking on point. I'm going to address eye test with this one. Let's say in 18 months' time, it's like, wow, look at the football. Second in the league. We look amazing. What's your reaction going to be when the Glazers do to Poch what they've done to Jose, what they've done to Ollie, what they've done to LVG, and don't allow him to buy, or they don't allow him to sell who he wants, or they do some other kind of madness, and I don't know, they sign a player because of sponsorship deals rather than it fit in his system. What would your reaction be if they undid his work? I want to ask that question of you.
Okay. First of all, for Poch isn't really my first choice, but let's go with Poch anyway for the sake of this.
Yeah.
Poch, yeah. If you looked at him at Tottenham, most transfer windows, he made a profit. He made a profit in most transfer windows. So I don't believe it will. And he still got to a Champions League final, and he still was in top 4 most seasons, and he was still able to build this squad that he had at Tottenham. So I don't believe.
So you don't think that they will hinder him? That you think that he is the kind of manager that, because of the quality he possesses, he will get the best out of what he's got. He'll utilize the money that he gets well and build us a team that can. Do you think he can win us trophies?
Well, I don't believe that the Glazers are as bad as the Tottenham owners. So I believe, yes, he can. Yes, because he made profit in most transfer windows. He sold so many players and bought so little, and he was able to. You
realise that wasn't Poch, yeah? You realise that was Daniel Levy, yeah?
That's the owners, by the way, that did that, not the manager.
Yeah, not the manager. You know, Klopp was Poch was actually in a press conference where he turned around and said, "I'm not the manager. I'm just a coach."
So the point. So what's interesting there, eye test, is that you just said that our owners are better than Tottenham's owners, but then you just praise what the Tottenham owners do is they do turn profits on their players. However, that's a little mythological in itself, because net spend doesn't exist, because you what most people do, again, I have to keep reiterating this, is you discount the increased salary costs and ongoing player costs. As an example, Tottenham, yes, they weren't always buying every summer, but what were they doing? You remember Spurs went through this period where it felt like every month they were giving their players new contracts. Remember, it felt like that. It wasn't quite. I'm being a bit disingenuous there, but they were giving all players new contracts all the time. So what you saw was a very, 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 very steep increase in the player costs for Spurs in terms of salaries. That was how, for the first time in Premier League history, Tottenham were able to keep hold of their star players and stop them from being picked off by other clubs, because they increased it. It's a bit like if you look at Arsenal. Arsenal's kind of transfer spend, people say, it isn't particularly high. But look what they're paying players now. They bought Willian in on £220,000 a week. Partey's coming on £260,000 a week. To keep Aubameyang, they're paying him £375,000 per week. Now, some of their fans may look at it and say, we only spent, say, 80, 90 million this summer. No, you didn't. Because clubs don't think about money in terms of transfer net spend. It isn't real. It's ongoing player costs. Yes, 80 million of outgoings have been committed to this year. Some of it will go up front. Some of it will be paid in installments. Some of it might be done via lending facilities. But what you've got to understand is Thomas Partey is costing Arsenal a minimum of £110 million over the next 5 years. That's the player cost, as an example. He isn't a £42 million player. Gareth Bale isn't free for Tottenham, because he's coming in and they're paying around £200,000 to £300,000 of his salary. So he's costing them millions and millions of pounds. That's what needs to be focused on here. So Tottenham may not have always spent lots of money on new players, but they spent millions every year. They increased their salary packages. And why didn't they need to keep buying players? They should have bought more, no doubt. But when you've got a Son, when you've got a Harry Kane, when you've got a Dele Alli in form, when you have the best centre-back partnership and a very good goalkeeper, and at the time good fullbacks, there isn't always a necessity to buy. It's about filling the squad. I get you're right. In the end, I think they did do Poch a little bit dirty, in my opinion, if they would have just spent a little bit more. But my fear for Poch is that he could get us to a certain level where the football looks great. I think this is what will happen under Poch. He'll come in. We may win some of the small trophies. I think we'll improve as a team. I think we'll play better football. I think we'll get to that edge, the precipice, and we'll go, right, we're ready to challenge. We're ready to go for it now. And there'll be a situation. Pogba might want to leave, and we sanction it.
Let him leave, man.
That's cool, but I'm not about. Don't forget who the player is a minute. A big player like Pogba might want to leave. The Glazers will let him go, and then Poch will be like, right, who's the replacement? Can I get Verratti? Can I get Ndidi? Can I get whoever it may be? And then what will happen? It'll be like, nah, we'll go and sign. It'll be a Cavani type signing. It'll be a Matic type signing, and it'll be things will deflate. That's what I see happening, and that will be even more painful. But
Terry,
listen, everyone's entitled to an opinion. You may just think and this is how I'm thinking right now, though. My expectations as a club have now gone. We are no longer a big club, so I'm not going to have the expectations of us to do things that big clubs do. I'm at a point where I'm just thinking, I might just fancy some entertaining football. At least it gets me through my weekends. That's literally the only thing I'm thinking now. Indiana, go for it, bro.
Yeah. So when you really think about it, right? Poch had a few years at Spurs, and he gets in the top 4, and he gets to the final of a European Cup. Ollie has like 18 months, gets in the top 4, third, gets to the final of a European Cup. Even though he's clearing out players, he's not built his squad yet. I don't understand how Poch will do a better job than Ollie. Bear in mind, Daniel Levy did not back Poch in the window, but now he is backing Jose Mourinho.
Okay, let me respond to that.
So I don't understand how there'll be any difference there. How will there be a difference bringing Poch in? I don't understand. I think Ollie has done a lot more at the club.
No, I agree. Ites, you were going to respond.
Yeah, I was gonna respond. So he speaks about earlier on. He also spoke about how it took Klopp 3 years, and Ollie's only 18 months into the job. And so my response to that is, with Klopp in 18 months, we already, even though he wasn't winning Champions Leagues, he wasn't winning Premier Leagues, I still saw a proper pressing system. When I used to watch Liverpool play in the early days of Klopp, I used to be like, wow, the way he coached them to press is unbelievable. The way they play quick football is unbelievable. Yeah. The defense was a problem though. And then he fixed that later. But with Ollie, in 18 months, in 1.5 seasons into the job, yeah, we still don't pass from the back very well. We're still not solid defensively. We still don't press very well. I'm not seeing what he's working on the training ground. I'm not seeing what he's trying to do on the training ground. We're not still good at.
And you know what? I test. We've been over that before, and I think, listen, I'm not going to challenge your opinions today. I think there are certain things we have seen improve. You know, the best up until the last few games at home. You know, best away record we've had since 1999. You know, the improvements in our defensive record last year were there to be seen. Passing out from the back is an interesting one. I've seen us pass out from the back quite well at times, but it's decision-making, a lot of it. You know, for instance, the other day, passing out from the back isn't what led to Tottenham's third goal and the mistake from Bailly. It was Bailly making the wrong decision and passing out at the wrong time. And these things need to be differentiated. However, put that all aside. I don't want to debate and argue with that. I do believe what you're saying. A better footballing coach with a better coaching team around him will get this team to play better football. That's almost an obvious thing to say. And Indiana's a coach. He'll know that if you have better coaches, generally you get more out of what you've got. My question isn't about that. My question is, do we see it getting us back? And this is, people have got to answer yes or no. Are we going to get back to the promised land? Are we going to get back to being the best or one of the best teams in Europe, with Poch in, with Woodward still as the main man, and with the Glazers here? If you think Poch or Nagelsmann or any other manager can do that, and it's purely a managerial issue, fine. I just think it's amazing you've still got faith in Woodward and co to help architect that when they've now fouled 4 times on the bounce. And Neeks says it a lot. You know, Neeks has said, and he's right. How are we even thinking or considering trusting this board to pick us another manager after they've now, according to you, I test, and you have to agree with this, they've now got it wrong 4 times on the bounce, yes?
Yes.
So why do you trust them to pick the right guy again? Or actually, do you pick,
I would trust
let me rephrase that. Do you trust them to pick the right person this time?
I don't know if I would trust them to pick the right person, but let me respond to what you said earlier. Why I do still believe if they did pick the right person, we'd get back to the top. Because let me bring it back to the Klopp thing. I think if we got Klopp, we wouldn't have to get Jadon Sancho. Yeah, if Klopp was in Ollie's situation, yeah, he could have easily, instead of waste a lot of time on Jadon Sancho, got Sarr, for example. He's nowhere near as good as Sancho, in my opinion. But he would Klopp would be able to get him in and fit him in his system.
Right, go back. So are you blaming Ollie for that?
I'm blaming Ollie for not having a proper system where because for me, Ollie, he needs Sancho. He needs these big players to be able to get to the top. But I believe if you get a manager with a proper system, you don't need big players.
On that logic, let me ask you a question, just a genuine question. Then if that's the truth, then why did Klopp want Thiago Alcantara in his midfield and not Mark Noble?
No. I said it will be useful to get big players, but they don't. He doesn't need that.
Okay.
He doesn't need.
So, in your opinion, if you gave Klopp Mark Noble and not Thiago, he could still get that to really work for him and win and retain his title, because it isn't about the quality of the player; it's just about the system.
It would be difficult. It would be harder, obviously, but I wouldn't put it past Klopp, because he's done it with Henderson. He's done it with all these other players in the team. So I wouldn't put it past him. But obviously, it would be harder. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay, listen, fair play. I've got a few super chats to do here. This is from Who Me. Says Potts left Spurs on the 19th of November. Ollie has 2 or 3 games, and then gardening leave is up. See, it's a mile off. Only issue is if Ollie wins the games, it scuppers the plans to sack the man who is winning games. Do you know what? Who scored that? Who me? What's interesting about that train of thought, then, you're absolutely right. This is another problem with the Glazers and with Woodward. If you're looking to sack Ollie and you're talking to Poch, this whole "you've got 5 games to save yourself" nonsense, that is bad management. If I'm at work and I have a member of staff, a member of my team, and they're not good enough for their job, yes, you give someone time, you try and develop them. But once I start going, you know what, I'm going to start looking in the market now. I need a better BDM. I need a better head of legal. I need a better compliance officer. Once you start looking for that, you've made your mind up. And if we've made our minds up that Ollie isn't good enough, we need to do it now. And that isn't me calling for Ollie to be sacked. I'm afraid to flip-flop. It's me saying, I don't want this indecisive, wishy-washy procrastination from Manchester United. We've got a few more super chats to do here. First one says, you also need to look at Poch. Been in 3 jobs in a few years. He gets bored very easily. The issue you need to look at is how motivated is Poch for a long-term project. Poch is good, but his passion went. Do you know what I'd say about that? I do think at Man United, there is a lot more to stay motivated about than maybe Tottenham and especially Southampton. But let's see. James here, a super chat, says, my James LFC 84 account was blocked on Monday, then unblocked Tuesday, and then blocked again the same night. That must be one of my moderators who's done that to you, James. I'm not too sure why someone keeps doing that to you. I don't know who's done that. Maybe it's something you've said. I mean, they shouldn't be blocking you unless you've said something really, really bad. I mean, I can see it's been blocked. But there we go. I don't know who blocked you, but I've just unblocked it, mate. There we go.
Terry, look, someone said to you the other day on your show, I don't know who it was, but they said this, if they didn't back Ollie, on the properly, I could say, and obviously, I'm going to ask you this question: is that the reason why they might end up sacking him and get Poch? Why couldn't they have done it sooner rather than later? Why did they say 5? Yeah, I mean, just done it straight?
Mo, I've heard people say that, they've not backed him with the money because they're not sure about him. And I just sit there and I'm like, but people are always celebrating that. I say, I told you all it weren't good. I'm like, why are you celebrating bad management at the club? You could be right, but that should make you angrier because you're right. If that's the case, we're doing the same now with Ollie as you did with Jose in 2018, which means you're writing the season off. Let's just say we go 5 more games and just say the next 5 games are an abomination. Let's say the next 5 games, we lose them all. And we're already 10, 15 points off of the top 4 and we're practically out of the Champions League because we've lost our opening 2 or 3 games, right? And then you bring in Poch. You've written the season off. It doesn't make any sense. It's the whole thing again. It would make me happy for someone else to come in and make us feel better. But as a fan, I'd look at it and be like, but you wrote the season off again. Like you still buy the players and then sack the manager and bring in the manager you want. Like it doesn't make any. The management is terrible. It's absolutely. If that's
do you think
what
they should
done,
do it now? Then you think
if they don't want, listen, this is not me speaking. I'm speaking here from a hypothetical situation. If they don't rate Ollie, sack him. Don't just keep him there on a whim because you're writing the season off. It's mad. Think about it. Like you're right. I said this to my little brother once upon a time. He had a girlfriend and he didn't really want to be with her. And I said, bruv, every day you spend in that, not living your life how you want, you're wasting precious time that we have. And I know that's a very deep thing to bring up, but you're wasting time. It's a waste of both your times. Leave. There's no, but I might not. You won't feel different in a month or a week. What will happen is you'll get used to it, become comfortable, and never get out. Get out. You don't want to be there. If you don't rate Ollie,
they've got nothing in common, basically.
It's crazy. If you don't rate Ollie, sack him. But it's mad. We've got a few more super chats. Sorry, 1 second, Indiana. I'll come to you in a second, mate. Super chats here. Kevin says, all you man wanting Poch is exactly what the Glazers want to divide the fan base and make us forget the transfer window because we are concentrated on our manager. Kevin, you're bang on there, mate. And like I said before, we're having a conversation, but as I'll keep going back to, will it actually fix Manchester United Football Club? That's the big question. Josh here says they will sack Ollie, take the heat off how bad they screwed up the window, and it will backfire, is what Josh believes. Nick P says the real problem is Fergie. He did succeed under the Glazers for a long period. He set a dangerous precedent that we're now trying to replicate. And do you know what, mate? I wouldn't say Fergie was the problem. We just had the greatest manager of all time, and it created that problem for us. Another super chat says, for F's sake, Klopp didn't want to come because he saw the mess under the Glazers and Woodward. That's also true. To push back on eye test there, Klopp projected Man United based on how bad we will run as a football club. So that does need to be taken into consideration. Indiana, you were about to say something.
Yeah, what we're not looking at here is why would a manager want to go to Manchester United without being able to manage? What makes anybody think a manager coming in isn't coming in just for the wage, just to be part of the Man United brand, have it on their CV, just for the money, because they know they're not going to get the players they want. They know they're not going to have the control they need to have. They know they're not going to be backed by the board. So everybody out there who's saying we need a new manager, they can't see the patterns of play. I would say if you can't see the patterns of play, that's your own problem. For one, that's your problem. The second thing I would say is if we sack Ollie now, this will be the fourth manager that has been allowed to build half a team. You then end up with 5 or 6 half-built sides of players thrown together. If you want a new manager, allow Ollie to finish building what he's trying to build. And if he can't do it then bring somebody else in. Because that is completely down to the manager. If he can't get the players to tick that he's brought in, I completely agree. But right now we are he's attracting the best players for his system, for the way he wants to play.
And Indiana, on that, see, that's where I agree. I agree with your logic. It makes absolute sense because we're going to be back to square one again, like I said before. My problem is not with your logic. Your logic is sound. But the problem we have is we don't have a logical and sound football decision-making board. And I don't think they're going to allow it to happen. So I suppose I'm just at a point where I no longer have expectations. I am not allowing myself to believe in us as a football club. I'll support the players on the pitch. I'll support whoever the manager's in charge. I want us to win every single game. I will cheer when my favorite player or my least favorite player in the team scores. I'm not going to do any agendas against that because I think I'm ring fencing the playing team from everything else that's going on at the football club. I don't think we're going to allow Ollie to do that. So do you know what? My head's just in this space now where I think, just give me some attractive football for a little while. I know in 18 months, we're going to be back here moaning about Poch or Nagelsmann or Ancelotti, whoever it may be. But you know what? At least entertain me for a little bit of time. It doesn't really matter anymore whether you as a fan want a long-term plan or you don't, whether you want a short-term plan or you don't. The Glazers will do what the Glazers do. Woodward will do what Woodward does. And this whole managerial talk, and we're doing it ourselves here, and we need to keep coming back to it. It deters our minds away. It turns our minds away from the real core problem at the football club. But the question still remains, and you've got people like Itest who disagree. And I think Itest's opinion needs to be respected in the sense of he thinks if you bring Poch in now with these players, he will turn things around quickly. And then you've got Indiana's view, which I agree with. I agree with both of you to a certain extent. I think Poch will get better out of us on an instance, but it will be back here in 18 months.
Yeah, phase out,
Based on your opinion, which is you've got to be able to build your own team, and there'll be a flatline period. And then while we're flatlining again, or there's a slight dip as we start to get over the euphoria of a new manager and he starts to rebuild, the pressure will be put on top. And then the ball won't back in one summer. Things won't improve as quickly or going in the same direction we want them to, and they'll turn on Poch. That's what I see happening. But go on, mate, of course you can.
What happened to being positive and not being a negative Nelly? Why are you saying, we're not going to win anything with the Glazers? We're going to be here in the same position in 18 months. I'm being positive. I believe if we get a proper manager, we will achieve, even with the Glazers. Come on, be a supporter, man.
No, I'm a supporter.
But how when they're not going to invest? How?
They're not going to allow him to manage. That is the problem. You can't have a manager that's not allowed to manage. That's the problem. The power's taken away. I believe Fergie left when he did because he wasn't able to manage the way he needs to manage to be a great manager.
Thank you very much.
The squad that he won the league with is arguably the worst side that has ever won the Premier League. That's how good he is.
You know what it is with Itest? He thinks about the past too much. That's to him. He just thinks about the past. Here and now is different. Premier League's harder, mate, bro. Teams are competing. You've got to let the manager invest and get the players he wants. If you want to talk about system, the manager needs to get the players that suits his system. He's not going to do that under these fraudsters, bro. You have to understand, bro. Wake up and smell the coffee, Itest.
We've got some great players, man.
Itest, we have got some great players. Let me just respond. Let me respond to you as well, because of course that was a shot across the bow for me in the negative Nellies. When I talk about negative Nellies, I think there should be lots of negativity and pressure put upon the board and the Glazers because they have been killing this club slowly since 2005. That's first and foremost. My positivity is more around support the team on the field of play. Let's not overreact to every little mistake. I heard, Maguire's getting a lot of crap today. And you know what? He's had a really, really bad start to the season. But the hyperbole, the disingenuous kind of take on how bad he came out, the way he came out and fouled Harry Maguire, right? I didn't really think it was a foul, but it's there. I heard people saying the only reason he came out like that is because he's rattled and he's working too hard. I'm thinking, all centre-backs at all teams come out and make those kind of tackles. And by the way, at least give 3 or 4 fouls away like that a game, every single game. There's nothing Maguire did in that one moment that was abnormal to any other centre-back in the Premier League, but yet it's being criticised like it is. That's what I'm talking about when I speak about being a negative Nelly. Like Pogba was really poor in the second half. The overreaction to it is crazy. Martial was awful for getting himself sent off, but the overreaction to it is what I'm talking about. In terms of being the positive side of things, it's hard to be positive, Itest, about us sacking a manager and bringing a new person in the long term. Like I've said, I'm taking my expectations away. So I'm just happy if a new manager comes in, I'll support him and I'll cheer when we're good. And I'll be upset when we lose. But I can't be positive about the board if they continue to operate in the exact same way that has created 7-8 years of pure failure and expect to get different results. We're not changing anything. The reason I started to become positive about everything at the club is because in the early days of Ollie, right through until even the beginning of this summer, the signs appeared to be different in terms of how we were going to operate as a football club. That gives me room to feel positive because I can see a systematic change in how the club behaves from the core out, from the middle out. Now that I've seen us revert to type, and it feels like we're in 2013 again with the way we've gone about our business. It feels like we're in the summer of 2018 again with how we're trying to out one manager and bring a new one in. We didn't back him because we weren't sure about him anymore. Because we were repeating the same mistakes have led us to get into this position. I can't be positive about the overall outlook of the football club. And there are two differentials here, supporting the playing team versus being negative towards the overarching element on the field of play. So like I've said, I'm not calling him out without knowing it. I have said this to his face. I've done 2 or 3 watch songs with Aaron now. And what I mean by like being negative on the field of players, he watched Martial get sent off and Pogba make bad mistakes at the weekend and there was barely a muttering. he watched like Rashford make a bad run, and you saw the passion and wrong run, and I'm like, it was interesting for me to watch as an observer of him, thinking, well, you can see. I wouldn't use the word agenda. You can see how when you view the game, your favorite players are treated a certain way and your least favorite players are treated another. That's the kind of negativity that I think as a fan base, we all need to work on to remove. And by the way, if I do that, if I'm too harsh on Martial, but not harsh enough on Rashford, call me out on it. Absolutely. Every single day of the week. That's where we need to become more positive, to create a unity around our team. Every single mistake Maguire makes is overanalyzed, like he's the only defender that makes them. And this is one thing I would say to everyone watching right now, whether you're a Man United fan, Chelsea fan, whatever. Pick your favorite player that you love. Don't do this publicly because you won't want to do it. But sit there and watch a game, a little notebook, and just put a tally every time they give away a ball, they lose a ball, they don't win a tackle, they misplace a pass. Every mistake, just jot it down in a game. And I'm not saying, don't even publicly share this. And at the end, add up how many and be really critical and look for every mistake. I guarantee you'll find 15 plus a game. The difference is, this is where I talk about being positive as Man United fans. I've seen Man United fans get angry that Rashford didn't arc his run by an extra 5%, but at the same time, completely defend one of our players for slapping someone in the mouth. And I sit there and I'm like, that's the negativity that we need to get rid of, because we need to be positive towards the team on the field of play. Yes, criticize where criticism is needed, but make it fair to both manager and player. But be as positive as we can about the ring fence element of our team, but then harness all the frustration towards the people that have legitimately killed our club over the last 15 years and taken us from the pinnacle to the bottom. And that's the Glazers, that's Woodward, and that's the board. So when I speak about being a negative Nelly, that is what I mean. That I see people taking all their frustration out about Man United on Maguire or on Rashford or on Pogba or on Martial. And then the fan base set off against each other, and it's like point scoring to who can make each other's favourites look the worst. And I'm sitting there going, it's not even fair criticism anymore. And we've done it at Man United for 10 years. For 10 years at Man United, there's always been a player or two that are the scapegoats. Started 10 years ago with Michael Carrick. Michael Carrick, he isn't this, he isn't that. He's the reason. And I would watch games and I would see social media light up and people are like, every time he misplaced the pass, see, I told you Carrick ain't good enough. And then a few years later, it was the Cleverleys and the Andersons and the Gibsons. And a few years after that, it was the Fellainys and the Rooneys. And a few years after that, it went back to Fellaini. And then it was Memphis. And then it moved on again and again. And every couple, and then it was Lukaku. He's the reason that system don't work. Before Lukaku, no, it's Zlatan. Zlatan's too slow. Every single year, there's a new person. Now it's Maguire. Last year it was Trashford. Every year we find a new player to overanalyze and be the pin-up boy of why we're failing. And we forget that. And the Glazers sit there going, lovely jubbly. We're mad. We're legitimately mad.
That's why there's talk of a new manager coming in, because it's an easy target for fans. Fans refuse to look any further than what they see in front of them. And that's a massive problem. Remember that Liverpool have just won the title and they just shipped 7 goals to Aston Villa. Not a top 4 team, Aston Villa. Nobody's talking like about Van Dijk like they are about Maguire. Nobody's talking about that. Nobody's talking about the Liverpool players.
No, and they won't, because they've got a lot of credit in the bank, and I understand it. And their fans, I mean, there was an article. This is how good Liverpool fans can be at times. There was an article yesterday talking about how bad Naby Keita has been at the start of the season. I think he's not won a tackle since the opening game, hasn't done an interception since the opening game and whatnot. And they're defending it. They're pushing it down with us. I mean, up until a few weeks ago, AWB, like United fans would back AWB in the argument against Trent. Now, they're all like, Lard come through, put Williams outside, he's done, he's never going to improve. I'm sitting there like, now this season, AWB is going to become a target as well. It's just, I don't know what creates it. I don't have an answer as to why, but I've seen us do this for 10 years now as a football club. Every season, we pick a couple of players who become the reason. People have done it with Pogba. There's always, he's the reason. And I sit there and I'm 10 years into this. I'm 10 years into this. I'm 7 years into the managerial element. And I'm like, yo, it's the board, people. It's the board. Yeah. But like I've said, I don't think we can get rid of them because not enough Man United fans have got the balls to stand up and cut the money out of the club to make them make the changes. So I need to drop my expectations because I can't control 300 million Man United fans, and nor would I want to. I can't stop the Glazers and Woodward doing what they do, even though I'd love to. So what I have to do is lower my expectations. And that's that maybe I just want to see some entertaining football and know we're never going to win the league again with these owners being here. I have to start thinking like that for my own sanity. Otherwise, this last 10 years of every year, there's 2 or 3 new scapegoat players, the manager's this, the manager's that. It just becomes a cycle. And we do the same thing every year, but with new people.
What's funny, Terry?
Mad. I'll tell you what it's like. It's like watching EastEnders. Every year, EastEnders, every year, there's going to be 4 or 5 deaths. There's going to be Phil Mitchell getting into problems. There's going to be Phil Mitchell getting into problems with more and more gangsters. Cat Slater's going to cheat. You know what I mean? Martin Fowler's going to be selling fruit. Ian Bill's going to be building up a business and then losing it again. You know, there's going to be lots of cheating, lots of heartache, lots of deaths, lots of evil villains that we don't like. It's the same cycle. Man United are basically a soap opera. It's the same stories every single year. It is. But yet we don't seem to. But this is real life.
It's the same pattern right now. It's the same pattern, and I'm sick of the managers getting blamed for this. We've had some of the best managers in the world, like Jose Mourinho. Look at him at Spurs right now. He's being backed. You watch where Spurs finish in the league this season.
110%. But listen, lads, I appreciate all your opinions, and there's a lot of what you've said that is right in terms of the system and the style and everything else will be better. My problem is, and I'm prepared to actually go along with you on this, that I don't have an expectation for a medium to long-term plan. So I'm happy just to have some entertaining football in the short term. But if anybody thinks, right now, my view is it will fix nothing in the medium to long term. So you can do it, but we will be back here again. And what will be interesting is with people like yourself, ITS, is to see what your excuses are. If Poch comes in, or who would be your preferred manager, by the way?
Probably Nagelsmann, probably.
Who's my guy I wanted. But I would almost guarantee this, and I'll say it now live. Nagelsmann comes in and is good for 6 months, a year, and then it all starts to unravel like we've seen with Oli or Jose or LVG, whoever, in the same way. It would be interesting to see what your excuse for that then is. Whether it's, actually, I was duped and he wasn't a very good manager. Whether it's he didn't get the investment, or whether it's the player power. There'll be a reason. I wonder if your focus will be, you know what, the board have absolutely done him dirty. I'll be interested to see what it is, because I'll go back to Fan Park Live throughout the whole of the summer of 2018, and I had these chats on air and off air with the likes of Rants, likes of Flex, and multiple other callers. They all said the same thing to me. The biggest problem was Jose. Remove Jose, and you'll see the problem gone. We fast forward 2 years, and it is Groundhog Day. And that isn't because those individuals were wrong in terms of at the time. That's how it felt. It's just, and now what I've seen is a lot more, and it flex. Everyone's like, yeah, you know what, man, this is the Glazers, you know. It takes time. And that's maybe why it's also a good reason to bring Poch or Nagelsmann in now, because when that fails, maybe you get another big percentage of people that see that it's the Glazers. And the more we can get on board, maybe, just maybe, then we can weaponize and really push back against them. But listen, everyone who's tuned in, I really do appreciate it. Until next time, take care of yourselves. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you all again soon. Bye-bye.